the silence around Amy Fleming is no longer calm. It's cracking. Something she has been hiding for years is finally rising to the surface. And in episode 8 of Heartland season 19, that truth refuses to stay buried. The tension follows her through every breath, every step, every fragile moment she tries to hold herself together. What happens next doesn't just shake Amy, it shakes the entire ranch. The shift inside Amy begins quietly, almost invisibly, but its weight grows heavier with every passing day. By the time episode 8 approaches, she is moving through Heartland like a shadow of herself. She speaks gently, but the softness in her voice isn't peace. It's fear trying not to tremble. The ranch, once her anchor, now feels like a place she can barely breathe in, each familiar corner reminding her of something she's trying desperately not to face. People around her sense it before they understand it. Jack notices the small changes first. He watches her from a distance, the way only Jack can, picking up on the tension hidden beneath her calm face. He doesn't ask questions. Not yet. But the concern in his eyes follows her like a quiet echo. Lisa senses it too. She moves a little slower around Amy, offering warmth and gentle conversation, hoping Amy might open up. But Amy deflects each attempt with a strained smile that disappears the moment she turns away. Even the horses react to her differently. Amy has always been steady, her emotions balanced, her heart open, her energy calm. But now the animals pick up the storm she refuses to acknowledge. A young horse she tries to comfort steps away from her, trembling as if mirroring her own anxiety. Amy reaches out, but her hand hesitates midair, a hesitation so small that most people would miss it. But for Amy, it's enough. She pulls back quickly, startled by her own fear, her own unsettled heart. Lindy watches her mother with innocent worry. Children feel what adults try to hide, and Lindy can feel everything. She asks, "Mom, are you okay?" More than she used to, and each time Amy struggles to answer without letting her voice crack. She reassures her daughter with gentle words, but her eyes give away the truth. Something inside her is unraveling, and even Lindy can sense it. The ranch itself seems to reflect her tension. Tasks that were once second nature now feel burdensome. The barn feels heavier, the fields feel quieter, the nights feel endless. When everyone else falls asleep, Amy lies awake, staring at the ceiling, her thoughts circling the same truth she refuses to confront. The past she buried is pulling at her, piece by piece, ripping open emotions she thought she had locked away forever. She avoids certain places without meaning to. The old trails, the quiet spots that hold memories she isn't ready to face. Every sound reminds her of something she doesn't want to remember. The creak of the barn door, the wind against the windows, even the rhythm of hooves in the distance. Each one brings back a memory she's tried to bury. She's not just tired, she's not just stressed. She's standing on the edge of something she can no longer escape. And Heartland builds this tension with quiet power, letting the audience feel the weight tightening around her. By the time Section 1 ends, Amy Fleming is no longer the steady heart of Heartland. She is a woman carrying a secret that refuses to stay silent, a secret that is about to change everything in episode 8. The tension around Amy becomes impossible to ignore. She tries to keep her routine steady, but every moment feels like she's walking on a thin line that could snap with the slightest pressure. When dawn breaks over the ranch, instead of feeling peaceful, it feels sharp, every sound louder, every movement heavier. Amy wakes early, hoping to outrun the thoughts that chase her, but the moment she steps outside, the weight returns. It follows her like a shadow she can't escape. Jack finally decides to speak with her. He approaches her gently, choosing a calm moment when she's brushing down one of the horses. His voice is warm, steady, but edged with concern. "You've been different lately," he says. "Something's on your mind." Amy freezes for a split second. Her hand stills against the horse's coat, and the pause is enough to reveal everything she's been trying to hide. But she forces a small smile and insists she's fine. Jack doesn't push. He knows Amy well enough to understand that forcing her will only make her retreat further. Still, the worry lingers in the air between them. Later that day, Lisa stops by, bringing Amy a cup of tea, pretending it's just a simple visit. But Amy knows why she's here. Everyone can feel her shifting, even if she tries to act like nothing is wrong. Lisa speaks softly, giving Amy room to talk if she wants to, but Amy stays quiet. She doesn't lie. She just stays silent, because silence feels safer than facing the truth. Ty's absence weighs heavier on her now than it has in years. She doesn't talk about it, but the truth shows in the way her gaze drifts toward places he used to stand, in the way she hesitates before picking up objects that still carry traces of him. She has lived with grief before, but this is not grief. This is something different, something deeper, something she has tried to forget but can't anymore. Even her work suffers. A horse brought to her for training becomes restless under her presence, something that rarely happens. Amy takes a step back, frustrated with herself. Her connection with horses has always been natural, steady, intuitive. But now that invisible bond feels frayed. She whispers quietly, apologizing to the animal even though she knows the problem isn't the horse. It's her. Georgie notices too. When she stops by unexpectedly, she studies Amy with a quiet seriousness. Their bond has always been strong, built on trust and shared experiences, but Georgie feels a distance now, like Amy is standing behind a glass wall they can't break through. She asks if something happened, if Amy wants to talk. Amy gives her a gentle answer, but Georgie isn't convinced. She leaves with a worried look that lingers long after she's gone. As the day progresses, the pressure around Amy begins to tighten. Everywhere she turns, memories press against her, pushing her closer to the truth she's ignoring. She walks toward the fields in the late afternoon, needing space to breathe, but even the wind feels heavy. She stops, closing her eyes, gripping her hands together as if holding herself from falling apart. She thinks she can keep this secret hidden, but Heartland has a way of bringing buried emotions to the surface. And as the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the ranch, Amy understands something she has been refusing to admit. The truth she's hiding is no longer hers to keep. Something, or someone, is about to expose it. The breaking point doesn't arrive with noise. It arrives with a quiet moment that Amy wishes she could run from. The morning begins like any other, but the tension in her chest refuses to ease. She tries to keep herself busy, moving from one task to another, hoping the routine will numb the thoughts clawing at her mind. But the harder she pushes herself, the more her emotions fight back. By midday, her calm facade is barely holding together. It starts when she finds an old item tucked away in the barn, a small, forgotten reminder of a past she thought she had locked away forever. The moment she touches it, her breath stumbles. Her hand trembles. She closes her eyes, hoping the wave of emotion will pass. But it doesn't. Instead, it crashes into her with the force of years she has spent avoiding the truth. She stands there, frozen, holding something that pulls her deeper into memories she has no strength left to ignore. At that same moment, Katie steps into the barn, unaware of the storm inside Amy. She greets her with a bright smile, but the smile fades quickly when she notices Amy's expression. Katie hesitates, unsure of whether to ask or to walk away. Amy tries to compose herself, but Katie has already seen too much. "Are you okay?" she asks gently. It's a simple question, but it hits Amy like a blow. She forces a small nod, pretending she's fine, but the crack in her voice tells a different story. Katie doesn't push, but her silence speaks volumes. The pressure of being watched, of being understood too easily, makes Amy uneasy. She puts the item away quickly, almost as if hiding it again will erase the emotions rising in her chest. But the damage is done. The past she feared has been stirred, and she can't bury it anymore. By the afternoon, the ranch feels smaller, the walls closing in around her. Every person she crosses paths with seems to look at her with questions she's not ready to answer. She walks outside, hoping the open air will help her breathe, but instead, the wind feels cold against her skin, a reminder that she can't outrun herself. She takes a deep breath, but it only fills her with more fear. Then comes the moment she has been dreading, a conversation she didn't expect. Someone asks her about a detail she never shared, something only she should have known. The words freeze her in place. Her heart drops. Panic flashes through her eyes before she can hide it. She tries to respond casually, but her voice wavers. Her thoughts scatter. The truth is slipping through the cracks faster than she can patch them. The person doesn't realize the significance of their question, but Amy does. She feels exposed, as if someone has peeled back the layers she spent years building. She stumbles through an answer, barely holding on to her composure. The moment they walk away, her knees weaken. She leans against a fence, gripping it tightly as her breath shakes. Heartland has always been her sanctuary, the place she felt safe even when everything else fell apart. But now that same place feels like it's turning against her. Not out of cruelty, but because it reflects the truth she has buried inside herself. She knows the ranch isn't blaming her, it's reminding her, pushing her, forcing her to acknowledge something she can't hide any longer. The sky darkens earlier than usual, clouds gathering as if echoing her emotions. Amy stands alone for a long time, watching the horizon, feeling the heaviness in her chest grow. She knows this secret is no longer something she can pretend away. The people she loves are noticing the cracks. The ranch is mirroring her turmoil, and the past she avoided is demanding to be faced. As Section 3 closes, Amy Fleming is standing on the edge of a truth that is moments away from breaking open. And once it does, nothing in Episode 8 will remain the same. Amy wakes up the next morning with a heaviness she cannot shake. The truth she confessed last night still echoes in her mind, and even though Lindy accepted it with strength beyond her years, Amy knows the real storm hasn't passed. Because what waits ahead is the part she has been avoiding for months, the conversation with Jack, the man who raised her, the man who sees right through her, and the only person whose disappointment could break her more than any fear she carries. As she steps outside, the cold air hits her like a reminder that the world doesn't pause for heartbreak. The ranch keeps moving, the horses keep waiting, and life keeps demanding answers she no longer has the strength to hide. Jack finds her near the round pen, staring at Spartan like she's seeking courage from the horse that has been with her through every chapter of her life. His voice is calm, but there's a weight behind it. He knows something is wrong. He felt it the moment she walked into the house last night with empty eyes. Amy tries to speak, but her voice trembles. Jack doesn't push. He just waits, the way only he can. That quiet patience breaks her, because she knows this man has carried her through every loss, every fear, every moment when she believed she couldn't go on. So when she finally whispers the truth, it feels like the world stops for a moment. She tells him what she told Lindy, that the fire at the sanctuary wasn't an accident, that her rushed decision, her moment of panic, her refusal to ask for help, is what sparked the tragedy they've all been trying to recover from. Jack's silence cuts deeper than anger. His eyes stay steady, but his jaw tightens, and Amy can see the hurt building behind his calm exterior. This isn't about blame, it's about trust. Jack trusted her to lead with heart, to think before she acted, to carry the legacy of everything he and Marion built. And now he stands in front of her, trying to understand how the girl he raised ended up drowning in fear instead of reaching out. But before guilt can take over, Jack steps closer and does something she didn't expect. He reminds her that mistakes don't define people. What defines them is whether they choose to learn, to change, to take responsibility. Amy breaks down, admitting she's been living in fear because she didn't want to lose the only family she has left. Jack puts a hand on her shoulder, steady and grounding, telling her that hiding the truth would have caused far more damage than the mistake itself. His voice softens as he tells her that every person on this ranch has carried regrets. He has his own, more than she'll ever know. And that what matters now is not what happened, but what she chooses to do next. For the first time in months, Amy feels something shift inside her. Not peace, because she's far from healed, but a sense of direction. A sense that maybe facing the truth won't destroy everything after all. Maybe it will rebuild something stronger, but just when she thinks she has finally taken the hardest step, another worry creeps in. The community still doesn't know. The donors, the volunteers, the people who trusted her with their horses. And the board meeting is only a day away. Amy realizes she is about to face a room full of people who expect answers, who believe the fire was an accident, who trust her leadership. And now she must decide, will she tell the complete truth? Or will she protect her reputation and let the lie live on? The weight of that choice now hangs over everything, and as the sun sets on Heartland, Amy knows the biggest test is still waiting. Night settles over Heartland with the kind of silence that makes every emotion feel louder. Amy sits alone in the living room, the house dim except for the soft glow of a lamp beside her. Tomorrow's board meeting plays over and over in her mind like a storm she can't outrun. She knows the truth could shatter her reputation, strain the sanctuary's future, and leave people questioning every decision she's made. But hiding it would destroy her from the inside. She's already felt the weight of that. She's lived under its shadow for months. And now, standing on the edge of this choice, she understands that healing only begins when the truth finally breathes. As the clock ticks through the quiet night, Amy hears footsteps, slow, hesitant, familiar. It's Lou. She enters the room with a softness that tells Amy she's been waiting for the right moment. Lou sits beside her, and for a long time, neither of them speaks. They don't need to. Sisters feel each other's pain without words. But eventually, Lou turns to her with that steady, protective gaze she has carried all her life. She tells Amy she knows something is wrong, that something has been wrong for a long time. And if Amy is finally ready, if she finally wants to share the truth, Lou is there, not to judge, but to carry it with her. The words spill out of Amy slowly at first, then all at once. The fire, the mistake, the guilt, the fear. Lou listens without interrupting, without questioning, without letting her expression change even once. When Amy finishes, she braces herself for anger. But Lou instead does the unexpected. She reaches for her hand and tells her this. "You made a mistake, Amy, a terrible one, but hiding it doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you human." Those words hit deeper than any comfort Amy has felt in months. Lou reminds her that they've all fallen apart at some point. Lou lost her way multiple times. Jack has made painful decisions he still regrets. Even Tim has lived with mistakes that shaped him for decades. What matters is what Amy does now, whether she steps forward with courage or continues living in fear. And Amy realizes then that this pain she's been carrying, it has been waiting for this moment. Not a moment of punishment, but of release. Morning arrives too quickly. The boardroom feels colder than usual. Faces turn toward her with expectation, trust, and hope. Amy's heart pounds so hard she can feel it in her throat. Lou gives her a small nod from the corner, a silent promise that she's not alone. Amy takes a breath that doesn't steady her nearly as much as she wanted, but she stands anyway. She begins with the facts, the official story everyone already knows. But halfway through, her voice falters. The room grows still. And then, with trembling honesty, she tells them the truth, the real cause of the fire. Her panic, her mistake, her regret. The silence that follows feels endless, heavy, almost unbearable. But it is also freeing, because for the first time, she is no longer carrying this alone. Some members react with shock, others with disappointment, a few with quiet understanding. But then something unexpected happens. A volunteer stands and speaks up. Then another. They remind her that Heartland has always been built on compassion, not perfection. They've seen her save horses no one else could reach. They've watched her heal people without ever trying. And while the mistake was serious, the courage to admit it is what true leadership looks like. Amy feels her chest loosen, like a weight is finally lifting after months of suffocating pressure. She realizes that truth didn't end everything. It opened the door for a new beginning, one where she no longer has to pretend to be unbreakable, one where she can grow again. As she steps out of the meeting into the bright morning light, Jack, Lou, and Lindy are waiting. No anger, no judgment, just quiet strength. The storm isn't over, not by a long shot. But for the first time, Amy isn't running from it. She's walking into it, ready to rebuild, ready to heal, and ready to accept that even the strongest hearts need help sometimes. And as the wind moves across the ranch, Heartland feels different, lighter, clearer, like the beginning of something new has finally arrived. And that brings us to the end of this emotional journey through Heartland Season 19, Episode 8. An episode that doesn't rely on big surprises or dramatic twists, but on something far more powerful: honesty. For months, we watched Amy carry a secret that slowly broke her from the inside, a truth she believed would destroy everything she loves. But today, we saw her take the bravest step anyone can take. She finally stopped running. She finally chose truth over fear. This episode reminds us that even the strongest people crumble. Even the kindest hearts make mistakes. And sometimes the hardest battles are the ones fought silently, behind closed doors, with no one watching. Amy's journey this season isn't about perfection, it's about growth. It's about facing the dark parts of ourselves and realizing that healing begins the moment we stop hiding. As we move forward into the next episode, one question remains. Now that the truth is out, what comes next? Will the sanctuary recover? Will Amy rebuild her confidence? And will this confession change the future of Heartland forever? Stay with us, because the story is only getting deeper, more emotional, and more unpredictable from here. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more exclusive Heartland Season 19 insights, make sure you're here for the next episode. Heartland's biggest turning point is just beginning, and you don't want to miss what happens next.